Oh, hello there. In this miserable time that we're all living, I thought we'd do something a little bit fun. Let's change it up a little. So tuck yourselves in, get your comfiest blanket, find a loved one to cuddle up with. We're going to do a reading from Rambo, Sea of Flames, children's book, stroke murderer. The assault choppers came out of the twilight gloom and skimmed over the waves towards the towering silhouette of the platform, Oil Rig 1, the largest offshore drilling rig on the planet. Workers gathered at the rails to view an unexpected sight. Suddenly, a single, powerful searchlight split the sky. A voice boomed out. "This is General Warhawk. Surrender or die." Remember, this is a children's book. The huge battle chopper hovered over the helipad as Warhawk, leading his S.A.V.A.G.E troopers, spelled Savage, S-A-V-A-G-E, S.A.V.A.G.E, posh. Leading his savage troopers, delivered his ultimatum. The sound of an alarm shattered the night air and security forces began pouring on deck. Warhawk watched contemptuously as the tiny figures scurried to the defence of the rig. "It's useless, you fools," he glowered. "No man can defeat S.A.V.A.G.E." We are doing the whole book, by the way. So, if this isn't for you, stop button. I've got other videos full of rubbish. It's fine. An hour later, the coastal naval base at Stanfield was a hive of activity. Squads of men crisscrossed the dockyard at the double, loading stores, checking equipment. Admiral Nader viewed his task force with pride. "I'm afraid you've wasted your journey, Colonel Troutman," he said to his companion. "I think my men can handle this one alone." "It sure would be a big mistake to underestimate Warhawk, Admiral," commented Troutman, who coordinated the activities of the Force of Freedom. "He may be a little insane, but the guy is a military genius." Nader remained unimpressed. "You see these guys, Troutman?" He gestured towards the men below. Iwo Jima, some other word I can't pronounce, Korea, Nam, they've seen them all. No tin-horn terrorist is going to stop us. We go in at dawn. Mad Dog scanned the horizon from his lookout position. The outline of the ships in the distance drew closer. "Enemy in visual contact," he shouted below. A vicious grin formed on his ugly face. Bit mean. Poor Mad Dog. "Lambs to the slaughter," he muttered contentedly to himself. On the bridge of the task force's flagship, Admiral Nader prepared to give the command to attack. He smiled confidently at Troutman. "They're outnumbered 20-1, he said, "and we have the very latest weapons and the best trained troops in the world." "That's what the Persian army said at the Battle of S.A.V.A.G.E, commented Troutman. "Battle of what?" asked Nader, puzzled. "The Persians lost," added Troutman quietly. It's gripping children's tale of war stories. As the circle of assault craft closed in, Oil Rig 1 appeared to be at their mercy. Without warning, Gripper let out a long blast from his flamethrower. Almost immediately, the platform was totally surrounded by a sea of flames. "They've poured oil into the sea and set it alight," shouted Nader in alarm. One by one, the ships of his task force were engulfed in the fiery waves, forcing the crews to swim for their lives. A few hours later, Admiral Nader looked a worried man. Colonel Troutman viewed him coolly. "I'm not going to say I told you so, Admiral. This isn't a job for a frontal assault. Warhawk's cunning. What this needs is an undercover operation. One man on his own." "One man?" asked Nader in amazement. "The best there is," said Troutman. "John J. Rambo." Rambo eased himself into the one-man hydrofoil and checked the controls. Eddie Hayes, codenamed Turbo, had designed the special craft which bristled with advanced weaponry. "Warhawk set a deadline for midday tomorrow," Troutman was explaining. "Unless the government agrees to his demands, he's threatened to destroy Oil Rig 1. I don't need to tell you what chaos would bring to the country's energy supplies." "Leave it to me, Colonel," Rambo said. General Warhawk was holding an emergency briefing on board Oil Rig 1. "We've sent the US Navy off with their tails between their legs," he gloated. "They'll have to agree to our demands now," snarled Sergeant Havoc. S.A.V.A.G.E, should really call him Savage. It's a serious story. S.A.V.A.G.E is second in command. Warhawk simmered with evil thoughts. "They have only one trump card left to play. Rambo. And this time, we have him." The hydrofoil skimmed over the surface of the water, a light wake snaking out behind it. While still a couple of miles away, Rambo could clearly see the ring of flames protecting the captured platform. In a small craft like the hydrofoil, he could confidently hope to avoid radar detection and sneak in under their defences. Once inside Warhawk's stronghold, Rambo knew he would be a hard man to stop. A patrol boat suddenly appeared out of nowhere. The Navy's AWAC reconnaissance sweeps had failed to give any advance warning of this. A searing shot across his bow left Rambo in no doubt that it wasn't a welcoming committee. He swung the hydrofoil round to a head-on course to reduce the size of the target he presented and flicked off the safety catch on his front-mounted 40mm gun. A short burst enabled him to zero in on the range. The gun pumped a steady stream of hot lead at the approaching attacker. A deadly pattern of bullets stitched itself across the front of the wheelhouse, destroying the boat's command centre. The next burst took out the bowgun and, as he cut a close swathe across the patrol's boat course, Rambo unleashed lethal broadside of grenades. The seconds ticked by and then a colossal explosion amidships broke the vessel in two. The survivors leapt aboard and swam for their life rafts. The element of surprise gone, Rambo decided to go for broke. He pulled the wheel round in a tight arc and headed straight full speed for the rig. A plume of water erupted alongside him. Looking ahead, Rambo could see the fanatical figure of Gripper, the one-armed mercenary, training a piece of heavy-duty artillery on him. Another shell ripped into the sea just ahead of the hydrofoil. A flick of a switch armed the hydrofoil's harpoons, and a second later the first one was hurtling towards Gripper. A look of horror fleeted across the S.A.V.A.G.E. trooper's face before he flung himself clear. The explosive harpoon struck home like a spear of destruction. The second one totally demolished the weapon. A wall of flames blocked the way ahead. Pushing the throttle down, Rambo steered towards where the burning ring was thinnest. He could feel the fierce heat searing against his flesh, but firmly held his course. A second later, he had burst through into open water. The oil rig's platform loomed above him. Rambo could see Warhawk's evil figure shouting commands. At that moment, a S.A.V.A.G.E. gunship swooped out of the sky. At the controls, Sergeant Havoc's sneering face could be seen, with Mad Dog beside him. "It's time that meathead Rambo took a bath," growled Havoc. "I'm going to send him to the bottom of the ocean." Hovering beside the platform, barely 40 feet above the waves, the gunship opened fire on Rambo's small craft. The freedom fighter took immediate evasive action, twisting and weaving beneath his attacker to spoil Mad Dog's aim. Coming up under the gunship's vulnerable underbelly, Rambo loosed a stream of 20mm shells, aiming for the rear rotary blades. Without them, the chopper was uncontrollable. Havoc saw Rambo's threat too late and tried to pull the gunship up and away. He wasn't quick enough, and Rambo's surefire aim raked the enemy chopper along the whole of its underside. The rear rotary blades failed their twisted metal arms under their intense barrage and sheared off from the mainframe. The gunship lurched out of control. Rambo, swerving to avoid the doomed chopper, headed for the access ladder nearest the platform above. Clawing desperately at the controls, Havoc tried to pull out of the dive. It was useless. He and Mad Dog threw themselves into the sea as the gunship careered into the platform and exploded in a ball of fire. Warhawk was nowhere to be seen. Hauling himself rapidly, hand over hand up the slippery ladder, Rambo reached the platform's first level in a matter of seconds. Black Dragon was there waiting for him. Rambo's muscles flexed as he stood perfectly poised for combat. Deflecting a flying kick, he parried a speared blow to the chest and ducked under a skiving arm. Skiving. I'm reading a children's book. Seizing his moment, Rambo hit Black Dragon in the back of his knees with full force. The S.A.V.A.G.E. martial arts ace crumpled, hit the railings and toppled into the waves below. General Warhawk, sensing defeat, was already on the helipad. Shaking his fist at the force of freedom fighters, he climbed into his battle chopper to escape. Next time, Rambo. Next time. Admiral Nader faced Rambo and Colonel Troutman across his desk. "I have to admit it, Troutman. Rambo is the best. Now if I had a platoon of Rambos." "All you need is the original," smiled Troutman. "He's a one-man army, Admiral." The end. Well, thanks for joining me. That was the 1980s. That's what we did as kids. Read books about product placement and blowing people up.